So you probably have a preconceived notion of why you should buy used books, and that idea is probably just used books are cheaper. And then of course there's the trade-off, and you're thinking, well, if I'm going to buy a used book, it's going to be cheaper in quality too. It's going to be worse. It's just sort of a question of price. What can you afford? Well, I'd like to challenge that notion by giving you 3 reasons, although there are more, 3 reasons why I like to buy used books. And then I'm going to specifically explain to you how I buy used books while making sure they're still nice and they're still the exact thing that I want. So the first of 3 reasons why I buy used books is, yes, they are generally cheaper. I love brand new books, but yes, it can start to be kind of an expense. Let's say you were doing a book a week. I know a lot of people read less or maybe more than that, but if you were doing a book a week and you were going for kind of a reader's year, and if all of those books are $20 brand new books, that's over $1,000 you're spending on reading. So it is substantial. So the price is kind of a given, and you probably already expected to hear that. Reason number 2 is choice. This one might sound a little counterintuitive, but when you go into a bookstore, a new bookstore, they have the new version of the book. Some of the bigger bookstores definitely have a lot of versions for sure, but in general, they're only going to have the most recent version. Whereas if you're buying used, at least the way I'm going to explain later in this video, you can choose which edition. Do you want an older edition or a newer edition? What cover do you want? Not only hardcover or paperback, but which cover art do you want? Was there an older style you liked better? And then which quality? Maybe you want an old beat up copy so that you can write in it with a pen and not feel guilty. Theoretically, any copy of this book that has ever existed, you could own. And a quick note, I'm not talking about collectible or rare first editions or anything like that here. That's a fun idea, but I'm more talking about books you're planning to buy and read. And then the third reason I like to buy used books is some books you just can't buy new, because they're out of print. They're old books, or they're more recent books, but they're just not quote unquote hot enough at the moment for the airport to stock them. They only have so much space, so they're gonna pick the best selling books. So yeah, price and cover choice aside, some books you just have to buy used if you want to copy them at all. So where do you get used books? If I actually pull up this chart that shows where I bought my used books that I read this year, so not all my books, but just the used books, you can see there's actually a big green Pac-Man that's eating the other slices of books. And you can see that a whopping 83.3% of the used books I read this year came from thriftbooks.com. Now, I need to say immediately, I am not sponsored by ThriftBooks, although I would love to be sponsored by ThriftBooks. This is just the website that I genuinely use, and I've used them for years. And if I can, let me switch now into tutorial mode. Welcome to how I use thriftbooks.com to get loads of used books that look nice without accidentally spending my entire retirement fund. A tutorial. So step 1, I go to thriftbooks.com and I type in the search bar the name of the book. And the book I'm going to be searching for today is The Voyage of the Beagle by Charles Darwin. And this book was quoted a lot in another book I was reading recently called Observations of an Accidental Farmer and Mindful Reader, which was a pretty great book. You can read my thoughts on that in the link below. But anyway, I just became curious and I realized I hadn't actually read it, so I'm looking it up. So once you found the book, you can click. And then they do have options right away where you can pick the format if you want to buy a hardcover or paperback or whatever. And then you can also pick the condition, so whether it's going to be pretty nice or it's going to be more of a beat up copy, up to you. And obviously the price probably fluctuates between them. So if you want, you can just click right here and make your purchase and that's it. But what I like to do is just to double check that I get the version I really want, and just because I'm curious, is I click on see all editions right below. And as you can see here, there's 292 editions. Some books won't have that many, some books will have more. And if you click on that, it'll take you to a bunch. And you can just scroll through this, but what I like to do is sort by publication date, oldest to newest. And my particular reason for doing this is I'm curious what some of the older copies might look like, rather than starting at the top with the new copies that are basically what I would see in a regular bookstore today. So I sort by publication date oldest first, and then one weird thing you do have to do is I click on filter results and then I hit hide out of stock, because there'll be some books that are here but someone bought the last copy and that just clogs up your results, so I make sure to hide that. And now the last step is just to scroll until you find an option that kind of a cover that you like, in a condition that you like, and also in a price point that you like. So as I look, this first one is in German, it's $290 and it's hardcover and it's new. So it really doesn't check any of my boxes for as far as what I'm looking for. So I'm gonna keep scrolling. And then you can see there's just a couple different options, leather bound ones. This one looks kind of cool. I actually might bookmark this one for later, but the one I think I'm gonna end up going with is just this mass market paperback from the 80s. And my reason for that is I'm really just looking to have this copy to throw in my backpack and read at a coffee shop. And I wanna be free to mark it up with a pen because I'm sure I'm gonna have a lot of thoughts about it. And so I find having the option to buy a cheap paperback really appealing. Plus, I do genuinely like the way that this cover looks. It seemed interesting to me, and for $5.49, I am going to add it to my cart. And then usually what I end up doing is adding a couple of books to my cart over a few weeks until I have enough to get free shipping, and then I order them all together. So, possible downsides I should address. Like buying anything used, it's possible that you might get something that's a little bit of a mix-up. You didn't get exactly what it is you ordered, or something's complicated occasionally. But I'll say when buying with thrift books, I think out of my last like 50 orders, I had maybe one, maybe two, where something wasn't exactly what I thought. And sometimes that was even a happy accident and I actually got something cooler. But when that did happen, I was able to reach out to customer support and get it resolved like super easily. So there's no worries there. And then also remember, I'm not coming at this as a collector who's concerned about rarity. I'm coming at this as a reader who enjoys vintage covers and getting to choose, and also who likes to mark his books up with a pen. So anyway, those are my reasons and methods for buying used books. I'd love to hear your thoughts and your own recommendations for buying great looking books without breaking the bank down below. Thanks so much, have a great day, and I'll see you next time.